It is about the time when the Demon King's military suddenly appeared across the continent. Slowly but surely, the land of the human race had been invaded. Our main character at that time thought that it was someone else's problem. He was raised in a village where he lived every day in happiness, and he thought that it would last forever. In a rural village, Tancred, in a small country, someone asks Alec to wake up already. Suddenly, he feels like there is something heavy, soft, and warm on top of his body. As he holds her in his sleep, she says that it tickles her. Alec opens his eyes and sees Claire on top of him. He backs off while screaming and wonders why she entered his room on her own again. Claire then tells him that his mother said that she can enter if she wants to. After all, it is her privilege as his childhood friend. While walking towards his cupboard, Alec asks her why she came to her room so early in the morning. Claire then tells him that her dad said that he brought a bee nest there. She saw that he was closing a jar of honey, and so she wants to eat some honey secretly. Alec is surprised to hear that and asks if it is okay to do something like that. To which she smiles and says that it is obviously bad to do and that it is why it is fine. He then starts laughing loudly. In a certain small country, there is a rural village where Alexander lives, and the one calling him Alec and inviting him to be complicit in a prank is Claire, his childhood friend. She lives in the bakery of that village, and her parents have long been aware that they are close, so it is not strange for either of them to go to each other's house. As they enter Claire's house, her mother welcomes Alec. They enter the room where the honey is kept and search for it. Upon finding the honey, they proceed to eat it, and they find it very sweet and delicious. However, Claire's father comes to the scene and asks them if the honey is delicious. They say that it is the best and it has a forbidden flavor. They then notice that he none other than Cedric San, and he has caught them red-handed. They try to defend themselves by saying that there is a misunderstanding, but he is not going to be convinced. After running out, Alec thinks that Cedric's knuckles are super effective. He knows that very well because he has scolded Claire and him countless times. Claire then tells Alec that she heard that red feather grass soup can make you lose hair, and so she suggests him out of excitement to go and pull out the village chief's hair from his head. Alec then says that it is obviously very bad. Claire then asks him if he does not want to do it, and Alec tells her that he will do it because it is bad, that it is interesting. Therefore, they proceed to go and pick some red feather grass. Some people notice them running around and think that they are getting along great. One of them asks them where they are going with such big bumps on their heads. When Alec tells him that they are going to pick red feather grass, he understands there is likely another big incident about to happen. Being able to live in peace with everyone in the village, their calm yet slightly exciting life was something that Alec loved, and with everyone's good wishes, they left to pick red feather grass. Alec had thought that it would be nice to spend his time having fun with Claire. However, on the same day, after it was night already, Alec noticed that the sun had been setting sooner lately, which probably meant that the winter was drawing near. Suddenly, Alec hears someone yell, "Where did those bastards come from?" While Alec proceeds to head in the sound's direction, he hears someone beg to stop. When he reaches, he sees a man getting killed. The man gets beheaded and his head rolls toward Alec. He screams and starts to run away. When he becomes out of breath, he decides to look into one of the houses through the window. He sees blood everywhere with dead bodies and falls back. Alec chokes and starts crying. While wondering why everyone is dying, Alec smells smoke and wonders where it is from. Suddenly, someone comes from behind and asks if he is Alec. The man then asks Alec what he is doing there and asks him to hurry up and run. While crying, Alec asks him what exactly is going on, and so the man tells him that it is the Dark Clan and their village is being attacked by the Demon King's army. The man then tells Alec that the west side of the village is already done for, since that side has ogres and goblins roaming around. Alec instantly gets up and starts running towards the west side of the village while saying that that side is where Claire's and his house are. As he reaches there, he sees Cedric's undead lying on the ground. He then sees the goblins harass Cedric by tearing her clothes apart. The goblins rape her in front of Alec and she cries while begging to be saved. Alec picks up a rake and runs towards the goblins to fight them and save Claire. Suddenly, someone shoots an arrow at Alec. A woman comes in between and saves Alec. It is none other than his mother. Alec shouts and says that Claire is right over there and they must have her. However, his mother picks him up and starts running away. Alec asks her where is she going and tells her that she is not over there. While asking her to return already, his mother apologizes to him and says that he has to live. Suddenly, she starts to spill out blood. He had gotten hit with multiple arrows in her back. Suddenly, Alec sees someone behind them. The person calls them maggots and asks them to run and tell their master while they will wait right there to face them anytime. On that day, Alec has made up his mind that he will kill every member of the Dark Clan, whether they are ogres, goblins, or even the night elves, no matter how many years pass, even if he has to throw everything away. 20 years had passed to what was just the beginning. Leaving out how he used to temper himself, Alec has become strong. Though, compared to his comrades in the military, it would be easier to rank him from the bottom. Alec has now become a full-fledged hero. Alec is hanging on a dragon together with his comrades in the chilly air. They will be attacking the demon race's headquarters. The dragon asks Alec if he is alive. Alec sarcastically says that he is glad and says that falling to death right before arriving at the Demon King castle would not even be a funny story. Alec and his comrades had come up with a strategy to attack the Demon King castle. To end the long war with the Demon King's army, there is a measure of the alliance of humanity executing it. In simpler terms, with the cooperation of the white dragon that was deserted from the Demon King's army, they had planned to raid the Demon King's castle from the sky, and according to Alec, it was the perfect plan to personally beat the Demon King of Death. Everyone is a volunteer soldier. They were the survivors that did not fall into despair. To their knowledge, they are all included there. If they can stop the invasion of the Demon King by paying with their lives, it is a cheap price to pay. A little later, the dragon informs them that it can see the Demon King's castle. After hearing that, everyone prepares to descend and gets ready to fight. Alec himself did not have any idea how many times he had dreamt of the day when he would kill the Dark Clan. Alec and his comrades, along with the dragons, break into the Demon King's castle and start attacking. There happened to be too many guards. Seeing the undead come towards them, the magician tells his comrades to get down and proceeds to use his holy magic. The magician asks them to hurry since the throne room should be just ahead. However, the magician's head gets blown away in an instant. The reinforcements had arrived. Alec decides to fight them, but he is stopped by one of his comrades who asks him to go ahead while he buys some time for him. With no other option left, Alec had to head towards the throne room. As Alec enters the throne room, he hears someone say that it is surprising as he did not think anyone would make it that far. The Demon King gets up from his throne and says that he is the one called the Demon King, Golgazalvi. Alec gets overwhelmed by the Demon King's presence, but he asks the Holy Radiance to guide his hand since retreating from there is not an option. And so Alec takes on a head-on fight with the Demon King. Alec has a tough fight with the Demon King. They keep on attacking each other while protecting themselves. The Demon King finds an opening and makes Alec lose his weapon. However, he gets flashbacks about Claire and grabs his sword once again to attack the Demon King. Alec had tried his best ever since that day and had trained until he finally became a hero. The Demon King continues to fight and finally manages to hit Alec. Alec continues to get flashbacks of his life from 20 years ago and wonders if it is strange because something like that is almost like his life is flashing before him. Suddenly, the Demon King grabs Alec from his neck and lifts him off the ground. The Demon King says to Alec that he had some fun and he did well for a weak human. He looks at him and says that his soul seems delicious and decides to have him be his nourishment. At last, Alec gets killed as he thinks that it is over for him at a place like that, and he could not avenge everyone since he could not kill the king of the Dark Clan. Demon King Golges. Everything blacks out in front of Alec. A little later, he sees the Demon King in front of him saying that although he is a baby, he has a very tough-looking face. Alec could not understand what was going on and thought that he could still fight. While calling out for the Demon King, he hears a Bua. While being confused, he sees a lady saying that he is a very lively boy to the Demon King. The Demon King then says that he has many heirs for him to surpass. While leaving, the Demon King thinks of a name for him and decides to name him Jilbages. Alec asks him where he is going, but all they can hear is a child's voice who does not know how to speak. A lady then picks him up in his hands and says that he will become the Demon King, Jilbages. Alec could not believe it and wondered how he could forgive something like that. In the end, he is reborn as the Demon King's son even though he used to be a hero. He realizes that it is a miracle that his destiny is not over yet. He considers it as the best chance and decides to kill the Demon King for sure. Born with the body of the demon race, he plans to destroy the rest of the demon race with his own hands. With his own hands, Alec plans to carry out humanity's revenge until the end. Alexander, the hero, challenged the leader of the enemy forces, Demon King Golges. In front of that overwhelming martial strength, he was beaten into an unsightly lump of flesh and died. This was what he thought until he was reborn as the Demon King's son. While one of the demons was looking around for her lord Jilbages, who is none other than Alexander, he was running away as there was no time for him to study. He thinks that he needs to investigate the castle for any bit of information he can gather. He plans to know the structure clearly. Jilbages wonders if he can possibly get a grasp on their weaknesses. As he peeks out, he sees the demon girl cursing him for his mischievous behavior. In a world where growth speed varies from race to race, it appears to Jilbages as if the demon race is particularly fast since as a 2-year-old demon, He has the physique equivalent to a 5-year-old human. Jilbages envies the fact that the demon race is so blessed. Even someone like him spent 20 years to become a hero. He continues to curse the demons while stomping away. Right after he was reborn, his mental strength was tested. Crying, sleeping, and sucking breasts was all that he did every day. Now that those kinds of crappy and embarrassing days are over, he has finally grown enough to walk around on his own. His goal is to kill the Demon King while hiding the fact that he was a hero. He plans on devoting the rest of his time to investigating the Demon King's castle and collecting information. 4 years ago, Alexander died and his plan to attack the Demon King's castle failed. As the Demon King's 7th heir, he was born as Jilbages 2 years later. The war progressed against the losing side of the Pan-Human Alliance. Yet even now, there was no conclusion, and that is the order of what he knew up until now. Jilbages thinks that it would be nice if he could gain information about the place to hand over to the Pan-Human Alliance, but it would be difficult to get in touch with them in his current position. While wondering what he should be doing now, he climbs up and looks out of a window. He sees huge mountains outside the castle and recalls that he heard somewhere that it takes about 15 years for the demon race to fully grow, and so he still has 13 years to go, which is not too long for him. That is why, at least until he has more freedom to move, the early development of a demon's body is an advantage for him, as he will be able to quickly gain power to kill the Demon King. Therefore, he wishes for the Pan-Human Alliance to hold out until then. Suddenly, Sophia comes from behind and captures Jilbages now that he has to study. Jilbages did not want to study as he wanted to investigate the castle, but Sophia did not let him go and took him to the study room. Sophia is really a part of the devil race. The mother of that body made a contract with a devil of knowledge. They obtain knowledge to grow and rise in ranking. Prideful of her intellect, this girl is like a walking dictionary and is currently Jilbages' head of education. Sophia tells Jilbages that if he really wants to become the Demon King, then he cannot just be strong, as he must also be intelligent. However, Jilbages hates studying. He did not want to become the Demon King. He just wanted to beat the Demon King to death. Sophia then says that an abyss of wisdom is waiting for him and decides to get started with reading, writing, and calculating. Jilbages starts yelling that he does not want to study and just wants to explore the castle. Out of frustration, Sophia starts crying and tells her madam that Lord Jilbages is not studying at all. Jilbages is then brought to another room. He sits on the seat of reflection, which is used to scold children or subordinates. It is uncomfortable and it actually hurts your butt. Sophia had tattled about Jilbages to his mother, so he is presented to her. His mother tells him to get a hold of himself. Platifia Riaju is Jilbages' mother, who is the 7th queen consort, and also called Plati. She tells Jalabias that she heard that when the first Prince Riojas was 3 years old, he mastered reading, writing, and calculating. She then says that his mother would always brag about it with a long nose. Out of jealousy, she scolds Jilbages and tells him that he will be troubled if he does not learn faster than that guy, so he will become the Demon King. As Jilbages said, his goal is not to become the Demon King, but it is to kill the Demon King. Seeing Jilbages' stubbornness, she says that if he really dislikes studying that much, then she will make an exception. But in return, he must win a fight against Sophia, and that is the only condition. Sophia is really excited to hear that. Jilbages' mother tells her to avoid injuring him to the point of requiring medical aid, but she will let it go if it is just some bruises. Sophia is really happy to hear that. Jilbages wonders if it is really okay, as he is a demon prince. He then wonders if Sophia can actually fight. Sophia then assures him that she is the devil of knowledge and she has confidence that she can perfectly replicate anything from hand-to-hand combat to spearmanship. She then taunts him by wondering if her young master's education is acceptable. Jilbages laughs about it and says that she is just a mere mediocre devil. At last, Sophia calls it the time to study and attacks Jilbages. However, Jilbages blocks her attack. He manages to stop all of her punches and counter her as well, but she retreats before he can hit him. Sophia is amazed to see her young master, but she wonders where did he learn that movement. Jilbages then realizes that he has messed up, since that is not the movement of a mere 2-year-old with no knowledge. Jilbages says that he saw it at the military training grounds. Sophia then thinks a bit and then suddenly replicates his movements and says that such kind of martial arts movement does not exist for the demon race. Jilbages is stunned to hear that since he used the general martial arts that the Holy Church drilled humans into learning. Jilbages' mother, Plati, then tells Sophia that it is obvious that it will be a little different if you learn from observing, since not everyone could be like her and perfectly replicate movements just by watching. Sophia is convinced upon hearing that. However, Plati then tells Jilbages to cease using that style because it is unbefitting the proud demon race, and tells him to use the honorable martial arts of the demon race from now on. Finally, their duel continues with Sophia dashing towards Jilbages to attack him. Knowing that if there were any members of the Dark Clan in that room that fought against humans in unarmed combat, then they would be suspicious and he would be exposing the human race's skills to Sophia, who learns the more she fights. Jilbages wonders what should he really be doing. In the end, Sophia beats him until his face swells up. Sophia is happy now that he will finally study. Jilbages also realizes at last that it would be bad for his position if they thought that he was illiterate. He then decides to quickly show them that he can read and write. Sophia then shows him what they will be studying. Jilbages is shocked to see the demon race alphabet since he does not know it. Jilbages recalls the memories of the time when his father used to hit him for not understanding while studying. Sophia then starts teaching him by explaining it to him at once. She starts by saying that the demon race alphabet is known as phonetic symbols. Each letter expresses a pronunciation. It is a nightmare for Jilbages. At last, he just concludes that he cannot forgive the demons. He recalls the memories from the time when his mother died. The night the Demon King's army attacked the village, his mother desperately ran to the next town and entrusted him to the church there. The poison from the Night Elf's arrows had already spread through her veins, and she stopped breathing just like that. He got to hear about it later, and it seems that he was the only one who survived that day. Alexander breaks down into tears and says that he will slaughter the Demon King's army. He took that thought with him when he volunteered to be a soldier. He underwent extensive training. Afterwards, he was sent to the Holy Church. He also obtained the holy element required as an adult. One day, after single-mindedly tempering himself day after day, he received the news that his country had fallen. While he took his time training with his daily routine, he once again lost it. Even the final fortress that should not be lost was taken by the Demon King's army. He still had not taken back the land that harbors their bodies. This time, he is even more determined to not let his final chance slip through and kill the Demon King for sure. Suddenly, he sits down on his bed and rustles through his head. He feels something wet and sees a lot of blood flowing through his head. Seeing his pillow also soaked in blood, he starts panicking. Suddenly, Sophia knocks at the door and enters the room while greeting Jilbages good morning. She then takes a look at Jilbages and congratulates him on no longer being hornless and says that she shall no longer call him young master. Jilbages' mother, Platty, finds it magnificent that for the first time in history, someone grew horns at just 5 years of age. She could not stop laughing. Jilbages is the one who grew horns at the age of 5. It has already been 3 years since the nostalgic day of getting beaten up for not studying. Now that he has finally become a proper demon, he has nothing to be embarrassed of. However, he is frustrated about the fact that in reality, he is a human named Alexander who is a hero. He wants to roll around internally while sitting in front of his mother, Platty. It has been 5 years since he was reborn as the Demon King's son. So far away from killing the Demon King, he has not even seen his figure anywhere, nor has he obtained any important information. He knows that he cannot settle down no matter what he does. His soul has remained at a standstill and his body has become that of the demon race. The servants in the room congratulate him for coming that far, living every day like that. The only thing that he was able to progress after he grew up horns was that he was able to perceive those guys' mana. A small imp messenger he has become familiar with. A demon in a compact form. A beastman that is even more reliable. Even though her physical abilities are exceptional, if she tried to use her mana, it seems like it would just dissipate. All humanoids are ones like those. And then, there is a night elf who congratulates Lord Jilbages for growing horns. As OS Jilbages' expectations, she seems weak and around the same as an imp. Originating from the elves, long ago in ancient times, they loved the forest. They were a race that worshipped spirits. They held a large amount of mana. But night elves are different. In the first place, night elves are, instead of compromising with the elves' natural doctrine, in direct opposition. After a harsh war between the two races, they were driven out of the forest by the elves. Because of that, along with the spirit's affection, they lost the majority of their mana and their longevity. They longed to take revenge against the forest elves. So one day they offered their blood to an evil god and wished to regain their lost power. And that is why, although they are in the same dark clan as Jilbages, they submit to the demon race, which commences invasion wars against other races. They are the demon race's side. Ever since the Night Elves proclaimed allegiance, they received favorable treatment, but they are scorned as behind their backs. Their appearance and cruel disposition are the same, but since they do not have horns, they have a feeble amount of mana and sentiments like that. The horns can be said to represent magic power, and he does not know how the night elves view it, but what is important is that that group will never get along with the Demon King's army. Jilbage's mother, Platty, then says that to think that he would grow horns at the age of 5 is surely remarkable. Although Sophia's mana flowed like find at the end, her mana is almost condensing inwards like a rock. Once again, Platty applauds Jilbage's and says that with that, he can now protect his own body himself. Therefore, she decides to reduce the restrictions on his range of activities. She then allows him to enter another section of the castle. That is not something that he really wants, and wonders what she means by protecting his own body. Realizing that he does not know about it, Platty orders everyone to kneel. Due to her immense presence, everyone except her and Jilbage's in the room was forced to kneel. At that point, Jilbage's understands that he can now use his mana to one-sidedly interfere with his opponent. Seeing others kneel by force, he recalls the sensation. In other words, it is the same principle as that. Jilbage's is sure that it was Platty's curse. Platty then tells him that he can now probably enter the palace without being destroyed. At the palace, he may look forward to meeting His Majesty the Demon King, Lord Golges. Jilbage's is quite happy to hear that. Jilbage's walks into his room and slams the door out of excitement now that he has finally got an opportunity. He plans to kill the Demon King with his own hands this time. However, he then starts doubting whether he can really defeat him or not, since he has neither a sword nor a plan. A few days later, Jilbage's meets Sophia, who first apologizes to keep him waiting, and then asks her Lord Jilbage's if he is ready. She then brings up a book and says that they shall begin his studies. Jilbage's is disappointed to hear that. Later on, he says that he thought he was going to meet the Demon King. Seeing him so eager, Sophia tells him that he needs more time before he can get an audience with His Majesty. Publicly, since Lord Jilbage's also rose in the ranking, the paperwork for the procedure is in disorder. Sophia is in charge of the paperwork. Since Jilbage's grew horns, he has gained the noble title of Exwire, a junior knight. It is surprising to him that all demons, without exception, become great nobles. Therefore, he realizes that he is at a stalemate again. Jilbage's then finally started studying. The junior knight demon noble ranking that he gained recently is the lowest title. From there on, one would need to obtain merit from war. Regardless of race, anyone could receive a promotion, and the one who reaches the very top of the highest rank becomes the Demon King. Jilbage's then asks Sophia if there will be anyone who reaches up to Archduke that will aim for the Demon King's position, since it seems like a system that makes succession to the throne more complicated. Sophia says that there is nothing complicated about that, rather than the importance of blood connections in becoming the Demon King, as they rely on pure strength. Moreover, she says that if they do not do that, the demons with strong egos would submit to anyone. And above all, according to the contract with the evil god Carnival, no one can use the that dwells in the Demon King's lance. One of the reasons why the Pan-Human Alliance was not able to overturn the flow of the war was because of the forbidden magic the Demon Kings had. The people who stood against the Demon King had lost their lives, and their souls were stolen and became a part of the Demon King's strength. And slowly but steadily, the Demon King became a fearsome opponent that drove back the front lines. Jilbage's then realizes that the source of the Demon King's incredible strength is the which is a forbidden magic that is not from the Demon King himself but actually from the lance. Sophia then tells Jilbage's that it is said that the first generation Demon King, Lodges, created it at the cost of his own life. It is an unparalleled, the only one of its kind. Jilbage's then asks Sophia what would happen if that lance was destroyed or lost. To which, Sophia says that she does not think there is anyone in the world that can destroy that demonic lance, and in the first place, His Majesty brings it everywhere with him and would never part with it, so something like that would never happen. Jilbage's again asks her what would happen if it was lost. Sophia then thinks a bit and says that if the king loses his terrifying strength, then all of the demon race would probably also lose its unity. Sophia is surprised to see Lord Jilbage's curiosity and asks him if he finally has the desire for knowledge. She then says that there is a book in her chest that goes into detail about it. After looking for a while, she brings a book out of her chest and proudly says that her body is a library. Jilbage's is amazed to hear that. Sophia then tells him that that is a book on the foundation of the kingdom that the first Demon King wrote himself, Chronicle of the Foundation of the Demon King, though it is a copied version. Sophia hands over the book to Jilbage's. While opening the book, he recalls that at the time, what humans knew about the demon race was very little. Information on the war was the most important, and they were always too late. Jilbage's wonders if he will understand about the Demon King's lance and the secret behind the demon's strength if he reads it. However, Jilbage's decides to first understand why the demon race invaded the human race in the first place. As he flips the pages in search of answers to his questions, he finds some text stating that originally, the demon race was a savage race. Even though they were blessed with abilities, they were not an outstanding race. Jilbages is stunned to hear that, as he knew after getting the body, that all demons have super high pride. To think the demons themselves would speak ill of their own kind is somewhat surprising for him. Sophia asks him if he is really surprised and tells him that the first demon king was eccentric for a demon. As he continues to read, he finds some text stating that knitting fur pelts, sleeping in caves, and eating meat that was only roasted over a fire, that was their everyday. To them, the only thing they did other than hunting was patrolling and fighting over the small sacred hunting grounds within their tribe over and over again. That was all they did. There was once a man from the demon race who was born with great strength and lived on a small piece of land surrounded by mountains. He grew so powerful that he was considered the next tribe leader. Day after day, the members of the same tribe fought over a small, narrow hunting ground. From the bottom of his heart, he was fed up. Jilbages continues to read more in the Chronicle of the Foundation of the Demon King book. While looking at the birds, the man wonders where did the birds come from and where did they return to. The man suddenly wanted to learn about the outside world. Whenever he asked the villagers about the other side of the mountain, everyone would reply by saying that they had no idea. Rather than thinking about that, they would starve to death if they failed to hunt that day. Thus, they went back to the usual skirmishes. At first, it was simply a curiosity, but it soon turned into an impulse that could not be described with words. And in the end, the man left his homeland. Crossing the steep, snow-covered mountain ranges, even the strongest of the demon race felt like dying due to the severe condition. With a desperate attempt, the man finally reached the summit and saw the ever-expanding green land over the horizon. There he witnessed the great civilization built by the natives. Some of them were hostile, and some of them were friendly. The man learned how to write and adapted to the culture. He was amazed when he saw a dwarf blacksmith. He also met an oddball from the elven race, and from that day onwards, they traveled together. With his perspective broadened by the journey, he remembered something. Unable to build even a decent civilization, his tribe fought over a small piece of land as if it were a sanctuary and called them uncivilized. The man understood that as long they did not learn about the other side of the mountains, the demon race would continue to kill each other like savages. He was then determined that they must break free from being barbarians. He was determined that the light of civilization and the rich land of that side shall become theirs. However, it is not something that can be accomplished by only a demon. The demon race must unite as one. But the demons would not follow either logic or reason. Therefore, he deemed an overwhelming strength necessary to unite them. The man continued his journey to seek power. The turning point arrived at a desolate frontier. The man discovered the door connecting to the devil world, where the devils reside. There, he received a very passionate welcome. Blood was spilled over and over. It was an endless, grueling battle. The battle called forth one mighty devil. Their name was Devil God Cannibal. The devil called out for the demon and said that he shall bestow upon him a spell to devour his opponent's souls and turn them into his power. In exchange, he shall entertain him with his way of life. The contract was sealed. The man came out from the dark portal and devoured everything on his way to his homeland. He destroyed the human kingdom, annexed the beastman kingdom, reigned over the goblins and ogres, burned down the elves' forest, brought down the dragons, and offered a part of the strength he obtained to the devil god Cannibal through the dark portal. Finally, he became the king. Suddenly, Jilbages sees the demon king in front of him, who tells him to unite his people. He must never underestimate the power of numbers, even that of weak races. Learn from your enemy, hone yourself. Do not misjudge where to direct the fighting spirit. Without a cause, the demon race cannot be united. Therefore, you must invade and dominate. Fight for the blood of the enemy and forget the conflicts between fellow brethren. Otherwise our race shall once again lose civilization. Jilbages read further where it states not to let the demons return to being barbarians. Finally, Jilbages closes the book and the demon king disappears. In short, if they do not keep making enemies, they will kill their own brethren. In that case, Jilbages bursts out of rage and thinks that it is the most befitting end to the demons now that he realizes that they destroyed his homeland and killed everyone just for that reason. At the same time, Sophia asks him how was the book. She then says that it is a book that helps you understand the thoughts of the first demon king, a literal masterpiece. While bursting out of anger, Jilbages says that it shook his soul, and then calmly says that it was very informative. It was speaking the truth. Aside from the building rage inside of him, he is glad that he was calm enough to read it. The first reason is that while he is waiting for his growth, he has found out that humanity will not be destroyed. Thanks to the Demon King's evil tricks, the Demon King's army is constantly gaining on them, but on the contrary, the invasion became slower and slower over years. The uncharacteristic and careful advance was eerie to them. To find out their intention, the Panhuman Alliance had to hold numerous military meetings just for it. But now that the reason is all clear, what awaits them after the invasion ends is a civil war. If they eliminated all the enemies, the one in trouble would be the Demon King's army. In the past 5 years, he heard that the army did not make much progress, rather, they slowed down a lot. Although he cannot afford to waste his time, it is reassuring for him to know that there is a grace period. The second reason is the existence of the Dark Portal. It is the source of the large number of devils that make up and boost the strength of the Demon King's army. When asked, Sophia tells Lord Gilbages that she came from the Dark Portal. She then says that when you look at the dimensional hole from the Devil World's side, you cannot tell where it connects to. Perhaps it was originally a portal that led to nowhere. Moreover, she tells him that the devils cannot come to this world by themselves alone. Hence, they need an existence that can connect them. In other words, they need to be accompanied by demons to come to that side. At that moment, Gilbages had decided what he had to do. He had planned that he just do something about the spear, destroy the Dark Portal, and drive a wedge into that fragile unity of the demon race. With that, the Panhuman Alliance will have a chance of winning. Gilbages is not sure how to achieve that yet, and that dimensional hole might be more troublesome than the Demon King's army. Even so, he is determined that he must do it as he was given the miracle. Gilbages touches the book with his hand and says to the first Demon King, Rayuges, that he understands his thoughts. Hence, he shall ruin his hopes. He plans to plunge the demon race and the Dark Clan into the Dark Age where they live like cavemen again. He has decided to make the demons even more miserable than mere beasts. He is determined to degrade the Demon Kingdom and destroy it. Once he is done with it, he plans on writing an autobiography with the title The Chronicle of the Demon Kingdom Destroyer. Hearing Sophia say that as an educator, she is deeply moved. Gilbages snaps back to reality. She then says that with his horns grown, his magic power is very strong. When the first prince, Lord Ioges, turned 8 years old, he went to the Devil World for the first time and contracted a devil. She then suggests that if Lord Gilbages can achieve that at the age of 5, that record will be broken by a large margin, and so she is sure that his mother is considering it too. Gilbages could clearly imagine it. Sophia wonders what kind of devil Lord Gilbages will make a contract with, and she looks forward to it. Thinking about a former hero making a contract with a devil, Alexander doubts it but eventually concludes that it does not matter. In order to defeat the Demon King and destroy his kingdom, he must obtain the power to do so, even if it means to make a contract with a devil. Later on, Gilbages goes to his mother, Platty, and tells her that he has thought of going to the Devil World. She instantly agrees and allows him to go to the Devil World. She then says that before he enters the palace, he must find a devil befitting him. Gilbages is surprised to think that it was decided immediately the next day. He did not expect that at all. In a different place, in the Devil World, a devil girl is so free, but she is so bored while sitting on her throne. In the world of demons known as the Dark Clan and led by the Demon King and repeatedly waging wars of invasion, we are introduced to Alexander, who was born as a normal villager. He swore to take revenge for the Demon King's army that had burned down his village and killed all the people precious to him. A huge anti-demon army organization transcending races and nations was formed. As the hero of the Panhuman Alliance, he challenged the Demon King and died a horrible death. He should have lost his soul, but somehow he gained a new body and returned to the world. The second life started as the son of the Demon King, the 7th Prince, Gilbages. With a former hero's soul, Gilbages wonders if he should invade humanity as the prince of the demon race. However, he concludes that he must not do that and rather plunge the Dark Clan into darkness and destroy their kingdom. And so the collapse of the Demon Kingdom began. On the Demon King Castle's balcony, Gilbages' mother, Platty, stretches her body to warm herself up. The weather is good and they are early. It appears to be a good day for a flight. It is a few days after he is told it will be his journey to find a devil to form a contract with. The demon's definition of early is mid-afternoon to his previous life. There is a difference in time perception between the human and the demon race. This is his 5th year being a demon, so he is already used to it. However, it was rough in the past for him because he did not get the concept of wake-up dinner. In any case, this is his first time outside of the Demon King Castle in that body. After waiting for a while, Plate says that it is there. Gilbages looks up in the sky and wonders if that is a white dragon, but soon realizes that it has red copper scales. As soon as it hands, Gilbages realizes that it is a wyvern. The wyvern bows down and asks his Madam Platty to go ahead. Gilbages is stunned to see that the dragon race is laying their head on the ground. While heading towards the wyvern, Platty says to Gilbages that he will learn how pleasant a flight is now that it is his first time riding a wyvern. Jilbages recalls that he recently learned that there is a very prideful race among the demons, and the name of the race is the dragon race, or so it was. Jilbages is amazed to think that they are willing to be treated as a mount and wonders if the rumor is actually true. He had heard that under the Demon King castle, there is a dragon egg hatchery. After they were defeated by the first Demon King, the dragon race pleaded loyalty to the demon race, but the demon race was not satisfied. Apparently, they took control of their hatcheries. In short, those are hostages. Originally, the vast mountain range belonged to the dragon race. They were then defeated by the demons. Their habitat was taken and their eggs became hostages. They had to let the demons do as they pleased. Rather than loyalty, it is more like they cannot resist. Jilbages and the wyvern make eye contact and it growls. Jilbages wonders if it is discontent. Jilbages understands that being able to conquer the sky is originally the privilege of the dragon race. If they can take advantage of their defiance, they might be able to use it for something in the future. He wonders if they have something equivalent to those hostages. In the end, he cannot think of anything at that point and decides to take note of it. Suddenly, someone comes to the scene and asks Platifia if it is not a pain to go out while the sun is still out. Platifia turns around and says that she was wondering who it was, and it turns out to be Lazuriel. She then says that it is surprising and wonders if she has come to send them off. Lazuriel does not like to hear that and says that she did not come for her but to say hello to the son she is so proud of, because that might be the last chance for her to do so. She is trying to scare Jilbages about going for a devil contract. Jilbages notices her magic power and wonders about a magic interference right off the bat. He wonders if she is looking for a fight. Seeing her speak with Platifia as an equal, Jilbages assumes her to be a consort too. Perhaps she is also a mother to another prince. Depending on his response, things might turn in one way or another. In that case, Jilbages decides to answer with an equal force. Lazuriel flips her fan and calls him an unlovely child. Jilbages notices that the magic power is gone. She then says that making him go to the devil world so young is too cruel. Platifia says that it is not a problem at all as he is her child. However, she then says that it is true for another consort's son. Lazuriel did not like to hear that. She stares at Jilbages and then says that she hopes he makes it back home alive. She then proceeds to leave. Jilbages wonders what it even was and who she is. Platifia then tells him that she is Lazuriel, the mother of the first price, Iojas. She cannot be satisfied unless she is the best at everything. Platifia calls her a depressing woman. Jilbages asks her if she came to interfere with him on going to the demon world. Platifia tells him that she thinks that she was trying to scare him before the departure. She then tells him that in the devil world, what matters is vague and spirit is deeply reflected. If he enters with anxiety, he will immediately lose his way back, but her wisdom is too shallow. She then proudly says to Jilbages that she has no right to lump him together with those weaklings. That display was the result of her own fear and petness, and tells him that he is different as he is a strong child. She makes a scary face and repeatedly says that he has to become the Demon King for the sake of Ryuju clan. Both his body and soul are at a loss. He does not know what lies in the devil world. Yet, he agrees with his mother as compared to his attempt in defeating the Demon King, it is nothing for him. Platifia is happy to see that and helps him climb up and takes him in front of him, saying that they should not waste time and depart. He asks to wait as he can sit behind, but Platifia does not hear that and tells the wyvern to take them to the dark portal. Jilbages wanted to at least savor the nice scent from behind. On their way, Platifia says that the feeling of freedom is the best, just as she expected. Jilbages also agrees with her. When Platifia asks him how is his first flight going, he tells her that it is very comfortable. Platifia starts to pat him, but he does not like it as his soul is of a 30-year-old man. In any case, compared to that time, there sure is a big difference for Jilbages. He reminds the time when a wyvern said to him that it was a proud white dragon and there was no way it would let him put a saddle on it. Then they had to hang on it with a rope. He had flown at a much higher altitude before. He wonders if wyverns are just better at flying. The flight with the white dragon was especially rough. However, he gets some other thoughts in his mind. He then says that he is enjoying it because it is not shaking as much as expected. He feels so calm that he cannot believe it is his first time. Platifia is quite happy to hear that and starts patting him more intensely. A little later, he sees the ground and notices a circular wooden structure. He knows that it was once the land of the Beastman Kingdom. It appears to him as if there are humans too, and judging from their appearance, they seem to be slaves. Although it became a territory of the Demon King, the only demons he sees are the feudal lords. There are not as many demons as there are other races, and so that is how they manage the territory they gained from wars. After flying for a while, they finally reach their destination. Platifia tells him that the dark portal is just a bit further. Jilbages is shocked to hear that it is in the middle of a city, and upon taking a look at it, that kind of city is called Cosmo Lodge, a city made for the devils and demons. It also serves as a staying place for the relatives of the demons who entered the devil world. It is a place where the devils get their bodies used to the world of this side. After walking for a while, they finally reach the dark portal. At first, Jilbaja wonders if it is not a dark spot in his eyes, but it really is the dark portal. Like a droplet of ink splattered on a scenery painting, it is a hole. It is as if God forgot to fix it when drawing the world. It is different from what Jilbajas had imagined and looks like something entirely foreign. Jilbajas starts to tremble as the devil world is right over there. As he decides to go in, Platifia tells him that she is not going there and says that it is more like she cannot go there because she has received too many devils in her soul. The next time she enters, she might not be able to come back. Sophia had already warned her about that beforehand. That is why she has no choice but to wait in that city for him to return. As she continued to speak, Jilbajas uninterestedly went ahead. Platifia tells him to hold on. She then says that even she was intimidated when she entered it for the first time. She is impressed to think that he is able to keep his calm even at times like that. Platifia then holds Jilbaja's shoulders and says that there are those who form a contract with an imp as the starter, but there are also those who form a contract with an archdemon right off the bat. Once he goes over there, even without searching for them, he will certainly meet the one he needs the most. After understanding that, Jilbajas finally departs into the dark portal. As soon as he enters, he does not see anything. He feels like floating. It is as if he had drunk a very strong wine. He then proceeds to introduce himself as Alexander, but stops himself and then introduces himself as Jilbajas. He then calms himself down and assures himself that it is the inside of the dark portal, the devil world. As soon as he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a forest. After entering the dark portal and reaching the devil world, Jilbajas finds himself surrounded by huge trees. He sees a dark sun in the crimson sky. The light is black and it should not have been bright, but it is bright, and so he wonders if he should call it dark. About the forest, he feels confused. Their appearances are simple, yet he cannot identify them. Somehow, he feels like he is becoming smaller. Suddenly, someone greets Jilbajas. When he turns around, he sees a tailcoat wearing a cane. Jilbajas finds it odd as he wonders how it got behind him. He greets it back and asks who it is. The cane then tells that it is a guide, the devil of guidance, Otigos. Seeing the gentleman behavior of it, Jilbajas acts accordingly and proceeds to introduce himself as Alexander, but then recalls that he is Jilbajas, a demon prince. He got distracted by his appearance. He realizes that he should not be absent-minded and that he needs to focus. He then wonders if he is the demon that he needs the most. He finds it of no use as he is unable to get any information even though he is looking at his magic power. In the case of darkness, he gets an idea of using the sound reflection to navigate through it. However, in that case, it feels like the sound is being reflected back to him in an explosive manner from all directions. He can sense the trees and the grounds, but not his magic. It is stronger than anything, yet he cannot get a grasp of it. The devil finds it interesting now that it appears as if they have an unusual visitor. But in any case, it is his job to guide the visitor to the place they should be. Therefore, he decides to point the way for him. As soon as he says that the path shall be revealed, he falls down in a direction and then gets up. After cleaning his clothes, he points in that direction and says that it is in that way. Jilbajas is quite confused about what is happening. While pointing in the same direction, he asks Otigos if that really was the guidance. Otigos then says that he is the devil of guidance and he would not be mistaken. Far beyond the horizon where the dark sun rises to the end of the west, Jilbajas asks him what kind of devil is there, and he replies that he does not know. He says that what kind of devil or what is waiting there to foretell, that is not in the range of his authority. Jilbajas feels disappointed and decides to get going in that direction. He thanks Otigos and departs as he does not have any other leads. Otigos says that it might actually take centuries to be done. Therefore, he shall keep his goal in his mind as he goes. Jilbajas turns around and sees that Otigos has disappeared. Thinking about his goal, he had already decided on that. He wants the power to defeat the Demon King and destroy the Demon Kingdom. Jilbajas is determined to obtain the power for that purpose, just like the first Demon King. Suddenly, he notices that the scenery is changing and decides to speed up. It is the mountains in a moment and the rivers in the next. Beyond the caves, deserts, and seas, to the west where the devil world started. To the place where the dark sun rises. After running for quite a while, Jilbajas finally reaches a place with huge walls and a huge open gate. He wonders if they really want him to come inside. It is an ancient stone-made palace, but it is decaying. There is no sign of anything. He wonders what are those stone monuments since they are like gravestones. He then finds a door and thinks that it is in there. As he opens the door slowly, he finds another door and then he continues to find one door after another for quite a while. He gets frustrated and wonders how many times that devil wants him to do that. At last, he finally gets to a place with a different scenery. He finds a girl resting on a throne. He finds her too small to be called a woman but also too bewitching to be called a child. Jilbages tries to get a grasp of the shape and power but fails just as he expected. He wonders if she is the devil befitting him. She asks him why there is a human. Jilbages is stunned to hear that and asks what she even means. She repeats the same 3 times. She raises up and starts laughing. She says that it is plainly obvious and tells him to have a look at himself in the mirror. Jilbages unmistakably sees himself but his true self. The devil asks him who he is and asks him to tell his name. Alex turns around and sees that the door is gone. The devil flies towards him and asks him where he is trying to escape. For his silence, the devil calls it a taboo. Suddenly, he introduces himself as Alexander, a hero of the human race. He then realizes that his mouth is moving by itself. He continues by saying that now he is the prince of the demon race since he was defeated by the demon king and before he knew it, he was reborn. Alec puts his hands in his mouth to stop himself from speaking any further. The devil is amazed as it is her first time seeing one with an intact self, because he was defeated by the demon king. The devil wonders if he should not have been devoured by cannibal's curse. She assumes that the curse was not capable of digesting his soul completely and calls it tenacious. She then says that maybe she should not underestimate the human race. Finally, she asks him what is his purpose for coming to her. As soon as she says that obstruction is taboo, his hands come out of his mouth and he continues to speak. He says that with his horns grown, he entered the devil world and is looking for strength. By taking advantage of his reincarnation, in order to defeat the demon king, he has come seeking strength. Therefore, the devil assumes that he is planning a rebellion against the demon king. Alexander recalls that he had endured it for 5 years. He had to eat the cooking of the race who killed his mother and was surrounded by enemies who destroyed his hometown. As long as he hides the truth, there will be a chance for victory, and he managed to do it so far. He finds it an unpleasant way to be exposed by an unknown devil at such a place. Alec then asks the devil who she is. She smiles, and while heading back to her throne, she introduces herself as Antindixis, the devil god of taboo. For humanity, it was a disaster. For the demon race, the path that the first demon king trod on was a legendary feat, and the one who hastened his progress was the devil god of predation. There is no doubt that he formed a contract with Cannibal. Jilbages asks Sophia if the devil gods and devils are relatives or their superiors or something. Sophia is stunned to hear that. She trembles and appears as if she is laughing. When Jilbages asks him why is he laughing, she shouts and says blasphemy. She then says that it is blasphemy to call them their relatives since normal devils are nothing compared to them. So, she tells him to never say that again. After calming down, she tells Lord Jilbages that devil gods is a concept strongly bound to a single devil. They are terrifying beings that transcended the pinnacle of power with many devils under their reign. They ruled the devil world as one of the pillars. Alexander is stunned to see that the devil god of taboo, Antindixis, is one of them and finds it awful. Alexander realized that troublesomeness and viciousness cannot be compared to that of normal devils. Furthermore, she saw through him completely. After that, Antindixis wonders what she should do with him. Burning with revenge, the former hero of humanity became a demon prince with a new face. She finds it a very big deal, as if she exposes him to the demon, it will be interesting for her. Alexander begs her to not do so. He wonders what he should do to get through it. As he tries to think of something, Antindixis says that due to the agreement made by Cannibal, she must cooperate with the demons as much as possible. Alexander asks her why is she being obedient to the demons if she is one of the devil world rulers. She tells him in anger that she will be damned if they are obedient. She tells him that they are only respecting the agreement. The ones who came to beg them for strength are the demons. Although, thanks to the power that flows into there, the devil world is now more lively than ever. It is a ruler's duty to ensure a bountiful territory. Seeing Antindixis bored, Alexander wonders if he can cook up something more interesting than exposing him to the demons. He then says that he can feel it even with their short interaction that such a beautiful palace is already decaying even with bountiful powers. Antindixis understands Alexander's intentions and says that it is just a boring self-defense as he wants to be her contractor. Alexander asks her what kind of contractor befits her, to which she responds by saying that someone who breaks taboos and not any half-baked taboo on top of that. Upon hearing that, Alexander says that there is no one that is more befitting than him. Alexander tries to convince her by saying that he is the hero, someone who fights the Dark Clan to protect humanity. Even so, in order to secure his position as the Demon Prince, from now on, he will have to abandon innocent people. He will use them as stepping stones. He continues by saying that he will cut them off for the end goal, killing off the ones he needs to protect. That taboo will surely be broken in the process. It is something that he has been thinking about for a long time, and turns out that it is inevitable. At the same time, he is the Demon Prince, someone who should inherit the Demon King's will and dedicate himself to the kingdom. Even so, he shall bring destruction. As he walks towards Antindixis, he continues by saying that he shall trample the loyalty of his subordinates, not only the siblings of that body, but he shall make a bloodbath out of his parents too. Born as a prince, yet he shall be a traitor who destroys the kingdom. That is the biggest taboo that can be broken. Even though he is saying all this to convince Antindixis, he only realizes now that it came out from his mouth that over the past 5 years, he had grown feelings for them. The Night Elves and the Beastmen servants, the annoying Sophia, and even the over-expecting Platifia. He plans to drop all of them to hell, be it a humanity hero or a demon prince. He plans to break all kinds of taboos with his hands. While showing all respect to her, he says that there is no more befitting contractor than him. Antindixis admits that there are not many that can beat him. Even so, she finds it insufficient to convince a devil god. She then tells him that he must offer a price that can measure up to it. She continues by telling him that there are 2 ways to make a contract with a devil. Either he can offer his magic power to the devil, or he can offer something equivalent to the devil. To make it clear, she tells him that she is not as shallow as that cannibal, so she does not want power as an offering. Nor does she want something pitiful, like his soul. She wants something more charming, and so she challenges Alexander to try to convince her if he can with a price that can measure up to a devil god. Alexander straightforwardly says that he will destroy the dark portal. Antindixis is stunned to hear that. He then says that he does not know when or how yet, but he will certainly do it in order to deplete the demon race's power and destroy the kingdom. Antindixis calls it bullshit and looks away. However, Alexander gets super close to her and grabs her from her shoulders. He then asks her to imagine that as one of the devil world's rulers, she will be breaking the agreement and damaging the flourishing devil world. Her dignity and status will be dragged through the mud. The current devils will lose their way back home and cry in despair. The opportunity to break that taboo is presented to her by Alexander. Antindixis tells him to stop talking nonsense, as he wants her to cooperate with him in destroying the dark portal, even though the devil world's livelihood depends on it. Furthermore, he wants a devil god to break the agreement in supporting the demons, and he wants her to make the cute baby devils torment in despair. Understanding that doing all that will make her dignity and reputation fall to the bottom makes her feel delightful. Seeing such a lustful expression on her face, Jilbages backs off and calls her a pervert. He then asks her if he should take that as an affirmation. At last, she agrees, since he has shown her determination and resourcefulness. He has earned the contract. Moreover, she will pardon him for his secret from the demon race, because it will be troublesome if he dies before she receives the price. He is relieved now that he managed to convince her. Antindixis finds him as a lively one. Even though his soul was tattered and reborn into a new body, he did not forget about his hatred against the demon race. She asks him if he can hardly remember his previous life anymore. Alexander asks her what is she talking about, as he thinks that he can remember them clearly. Therefore, Antindixis asks him where he was born and what was the name of the village he grew up in. She asks him about the names of his parents and of his precious friend. Now that he thinks of it, Alexander has a hard time remembering all that. He barely manages to remember Claire. When she asks him about the name of his mentor, he says that he had many people whom he called mentors: the teacher in the orphanage, the master of the order, and the instructor of the Holy Church, Instructor Meralda. He continues to have a hard time recalling them. He feels as if there are maggots gnawing on his memories. When he turns around and looks into the mirror, Antindixis shows him what she meant by his soul being tattered. He was devoured by cannibal's wicked spell, but thanks to his tenacious revenge, his soul did not perish. Although it survived, the holes in his memories will never return, and they will continue to expand as he lives as a demon. Alexander goes silent for a while. Antindixis asks him if she shall cancel the contract, and says that even if he pulls back now, she will not be so tactless as to expose his identity, because he showed her some interesting stuff, and tells him that he can continue to live as a demon. Suddenly, Alexander says that he remembers the day when his village was burned down and the fire raged inside of him. He remembers his vow of revenge, and it is good enough for him. At last, Alexander and Antindixis seal the contract by shaking their hands together. Finally, Alexander manages to convince Antindixis of the contract. However, before they could seal it, he asked her to hold on and said that there was something that he needed to confirm. He asks her if her authority is gaining power by violating taboos. She tells him that it is one way to say it, but that is not all. She then decides to really explain it. She tells him that she is the devil god that reigns over taboo. Be it in the devil world or the real world, her power increases when taboos are violated. Her contractor shall gain more power the more they violate taboos. And once he has grown accustomed to her power, new taboos can be created. While he wonders what she means by new taboos, she says blinking is taboo, which makes him unable to close his eyes. It is the same as how she made him talk earlier. Therefore, it is a magic that restricts or enforces an action. Alexander realizes that it is really strong. Although it might be resisted depending on the opponent's magic power, they have to be conscious of resisting as well. It is a powerful spell that can be cast without complex chanting or rituals. Alexander finds it ridiculously strong. As his eyes start to get filled with tears, he asks her to stop her magic. She calls him pitiful that he already reached his limit. But the more he wants her to stop, the more she does not want to stop. As he tells him to stop joking already, he notices that her eyes are also filled with tears. She then tells him that she is affected as well. Alexander wonders if that is not bad. Alexander then wonders what would happen if he tried breathing his taboo. She says that then they would both die. Finally, she tells him that she is the devil god of taboo, and so she is even more tightly bound to taboo than anyone else. That is why she found his offer very tempting. Alexander asks her if that means that she cannot break taboos by herself, and so she says that he can say so for now. At last, she asks him if there is anything else that he wants to confirm. If not, they then can finally proceed with the contract. Now that Alexander had nothing else to confirm, they decided to continue also because although they were talking on a better term than before, she was still a devil god. There is no telling if her mood might change by a whim. He must obtain her strength before she changes her mind. Then he will return to the real world. However, this time, before they can shake their hands, Antondixis stops and says that there is something that she needs to make sure of. She asks him how much of his vessel should she fill with her authority. He asks her if it is the better the more and says that it is not like he has a choice anyway. She wanted to ask him that just in case. At last, they finally shake their hands and seal the contract. The contract is finally made. However, Alexander feels something strange, but it is already too late. He feels as if it is like a muddy stream that concentrates the hidden principles of that world and makes it rot. Something frightening is rushing in his body, reshaping him from within. Antondixis realizes that his soul is quite dried out, meaning that the vessel can take more than expected. She tells him to rejoice as he is the only one who has ever received so much power from a devil god. Alexander says that he is drowning, and suddenly they leave each other's hands. Alexander falls back. Antondixis smiles and says that she is not sure whether he is a human, a demon, or a devil now. Alexander does not understand what she is talking about. She then says that nothing has changed at a glance. When he looks at himself in the mirror, he sees the hero of humanity, Alexander, in his prime form with demon's horns, devil god's eyes, and devil god's skin. He is shocked to see that and asks her if it will not affect his real form. She then tells him that there is just a little probability. It is the norm for a contract with a devil, an acceptable margin of error. Antondixis then tells him to remember not to enter the devil world next time. If he comes back, then he will not be able to return to the real world. He feels good to know that, but also pity now that it is about time for him to go back. However, they both seem to head out as she says that it has been many thousand years since she last visited the outside world, and so she is looking forward to it. Out of confusion, Alexander asks her if it is just him or if she sounded like she is going along, to which she happily says that she is also going along. He did not like to hear that. Alexander asks her how cannibals stay behind in the devil world if a devil god like her was to go to the real world. Antondixis assures him that it will be fine since it is nothing serious, just like sticking her fingertips out. In order to save energy, she had also made a place to stay in advance in his chest. She puts her hand on his chest and suddenly gets fucked into his body. He did not like that at all and raged to think that she would be following him anywhere from now on. Antondixis could not stop laughing at seeing him panic. Finally, they arrive at the dark portal of the devil world. Alexander finds the travel back distance quite long. In any case, they are finally going back to the real world. He tells her that once they arrive there, they will meet Platifia, the mother of that body. Suddenly, he remembers that the devil god contract must be kept secret or it would be bad, as who knows what kind of mess will entail if the content of the contract leaks out. Fortunately, Alexander has two names. Unless he exercises her authority using his contracted name Alexander, the effect will be weakened. In other words, he can use it as a pretense that he contracted a normal devil. Alexander had given his name without thinking beforehand. In that case, rather than calling her the devil god of taboo, Alexander decides to say that he made a contract with Auntie, the devil of restriction. Suddenly, she falls on her knees. By thinking that she is a devil god and yet she is going to be degraded to a lowly devil, she feels quite delighted by the blasphemy. Jilbages yells at her and tells her not to act like that in front of Platifia. Jilbages notices that his power just increased. Breaking the taboo of degrading the devil god, Jilbages had become a bit stronger. Finally, they proceed to get going. Antindixis is excited to see him acting as a demon. She says farewell to the devil world as she will be leaving for a while. After coming to the other side, Alexander assures himself about the real world by looking at the sunlight's color. As they stretch their body, Alexander feels a bit weird since it has been a while. His mind and body feel cramped. At last, they decide to go and look for Platifia. As they go ahead, something falls behind them. After looking around for a while, they finally find her in a cafe. It appears as if she is out cold. He calls out for his mother. She looks behind her and asks who he is. Alexander is shocked by her look and thinks that he should be the one asking that as she looks incredibly worn out. As he tells her that he is her son, Jilbages, she instantly stands up and asks who is the name of his devil educator. As soon as Jilbages says Sophia, she asks him who was the one he had to fight first with. When he said Sophia this time, she asked him for the reason for their fight. Jilbages says that it was because he was not studying. He looks at her face properly and wonders if she has shrunk somehow, and he finds the angle kind of weird. Platifia grabs him from his shoulders and asks him if it is really him. He looks at his reflection and is shocked to see an insane growth spurt. Platifia falls down on her knees and starts crying now that Jilbages is really back. Antindixis smiles and says that it is still within the margin of error. However, Jilbages says that it is definitely not within the margin of error. It is what he heard while moving to the inn. It was only a few days of experience in the devil world for him, but in the real world, half a year has passed. Normally, one would return after only a few hours, or even a few days at the latest. Platifia was relaxed at first, but then she grew anxious over time. The mothers of other princes then heard about the story and everyone took their turns in visiting Platifia. Everyone was humiliating her and as one can guess, she had a mental breakdown. She could not even swallow her food nor could she sleep at night. There was no place for her in the Demon King castle either. Waiting and praying for his return, she passed half a year just like that. Like that, they arrived at the inn and it looked like a scene where the son brought a bad gal as his girlfriend back home. After changing his clothes temporarily, Jilbages decides to introduce her to his mother. He introduces her as Auntie, the devil of restriction. Auntie loves the way she is being treated like a lowly devil. Platifia is confused at first. Seeing that she was his contracted devil, Platifia notices that his magic power has indeed become stronger than ever. She asks him if she is an upper-ranked devil since she looks quite unique. When asked about her authority, Jilbages says that he cannot go into details due to restrictions, since it is capable of putting restrictions on yourself. Platifia assumes it to be a binding type magic. She finds it a great achievement for his first time entering the devil world and praises Jilbages for it. Platifia then asks him to just find one that is around him when he enters the devil world the next time, as he really made her worry. Jilbages tells her not to worry because it seems like he cannot enter the devil world anymore. Platifia is stunned to hear that. He explains that his soul vessel is already full from the contract, so he might not be able to come back the next time he enters. Platifia burns out of anger and shouts at the devil, asking what has she done. She says not to tell her that she does not understand the gravity of the situation, as because of her, Jilbages can no longer form any contracts with other devils. He cannot gain new subordinates through contracts and he is stuck solely with her authority magic. And asks her if that is not how it is supposed to be, as it is too much for a mortal to handle multiple authorities at once anyways. Furthermore, dipping his hand on multiple contracts will just dilute the purity of the contractor's power. There is no way he can make it big like that. Platifia finds it pathetic and says that it is the word that triggers the demon race the most. The only ones who are allowed to use that world are the powerhouse who have made it big themselves, and asks Platifia if she would like to try her. Platifia proceeds to throw her spear at her, but Anne says spearmanship is prohibited and halts the spear. As Platifia tries to resist, Anne says resistance is prohibited. She then mocks Platifia by asking if that is all that she has got. However, Platifia still manages to throw her spear at Anne, but she misses. Jilbages notices that what Anne said was not taboo but prohibited. In other words, that is about the power of an upper-rank devil for disguise. Platifia finally acknowledges Anne and says that she is strong. and assures her that she will make her son a splendid demon king. Platifia is pleased to hear that. At last, Platifia says that they cannot stay like that and they shall return to the Demon King castle as soon as possible. Jilbages suggests her to get some rest first. Platifia tells him that they lost all contact with him during the half year and so he is almost officially declared dead. Jilbages is surprised to hear that.